All right, so I want to talk about the Xbox Series X again because honestly, I've been playing this thing quite a lot lately, and it might be one of my favorite pieces of tech in 2025, despite being what, 4 or 5 years old at this point. Now, the weird thing about this tiny shoebox sized game console is that it's obviously not going to be better than my decked out RTX 4090 PC, nor will it have, all the features as such. But I don't really need it to, and I'm not sure if it's just because of, I guess, the point in life I am currently. This system provides me so much value that I'm sort of enamored with it. Now, that sounds kind of weird because yes, it's worse in pretty much every single way, apart from a few features that I really absolutely love. But as somebody who works as an accountant during the daytime, I spend anywhere between 8, 9, 10 hours a day using a mouse and keyboard. And that also bleeds into my creation work where I spend hours a day working on YouTube and stuff, typically using a mouse and keyboard. So for myself, in that case, at the end of, I guess, a really long day, when I'm sitting down melting into, either my desk setup or my couch, I just love the controller experience and playing my Xbox, as simple as it sounds. That could be a mix of whatever game I'm playing. It could be watching a movie. It could be just browsing YouTube or just vibing out listening to music. This system simply has me covered. And the thing I don't really get when it comes down to system wars and PC versus console and PlayStation versus Xbox is that at the end of it all, it's simply gaming. And however somebody gets their gaming in is all that really matters. Now, obviously, like I mentioned, the Xbox Series X is going to be nowhere near as powerful as my RTX 4090 PC. And I know there's the PC overlords out there who love to just dunk on console. And the reality is, I simply don't care. I've got the PC. I have the PlayStation 5 Pro. Sometimes I just want to play my Xbox, and it still has me covered because at the end of the day, if I want a game, guess what this Xbox lets me do? It lets me game. Now, the question is, does this give you a good gaming experience? And the spoiler answer is obviously, honestly, yeah, I think this thing gives an absolutely incredible gaming experience. I mean, right now, I'm filming this video and just vibing out on Tony Hawk, because that's just one of the games you can sort of play without really thinking about it. And that in and out of itself is an experience that I really enjoy. With that, when it comes down to a system like this, for $600, the experience is honestly mostly uncompromising. In this case, for a fraction of the price relative to a PC at least, you're going to be getting 4K resolution at up to 120 Hertz. And to me, that sounds pretty badass. Now, that isn't to say $600 isn't expensive, because it definitely is, but it's also going to be a hell of a lot cheaper than a PC, and the system can be had for less if you're looking to look at, refurbished, renewed, and all that stuff, or otherwise used. And sure, of course, the 4K on this system might be upscaled or downscaled or whatever the hell it is now at this point. And the reality is, if the image on my screen looks good, I'm all for it regardless of how it's done. In this case, when I'm gaming at least, I'm happy, and the Xbox Series X more than delivers on the gaming experience. I've mentioned this in the past, but I've been playing Marvel Rivals more on my Series X than I have been on either my PlayStation 5 or my PC. I'm not sure why. I think it's just the pick up and play aspect of it. And unlike PC, at least, I don't have to go through the whole compiling shaders. If anybody's playing Marvel Rival on PC, you know that compiling your shaders takes forever. And this system somehow seems to skip it. I don't know why. But it loads insanely fast, and that's why I sort of just gravitate to playing Rivals on this system. In my world, at least, sort of getting into my mid-30s, Marvel Rivals is just one of those games that me and my buddies can sort of pick up for a couple rounds, even if it's for 20-30 minutes. And it's just a good time. And we get to vibe out on Discord. There's integrated Discord on here, which used to sort of be just like, a PC-only feature. And it's yet another reason why I sort of gravitate to using my Series X for just the simple thing as gaming with the boys. For myself, the ease of access and the least amount of friction possible is almost intangible. And it's not just Rivals. It could be Halo, it could be Fortnite, whatever the case is, we just log on and we're literally online in moments. And again, sort of talking about those, PC only features like high refresh rates, 4K resolution, Discord integration and all that stuff. those used to just be available on PC. And the fact is, it's now very well integrated into a system like this. And it's not that the Series X is better than a PC, really, but it's just the fact that those features that used to pretty much be PC only, like Discord integration or high refresh rates or even 4K, are now available on a tiny ass system like this. So honestly, I just find it to be a super compelling package. And sure, while the system's mature, going on 4 or 5 years at this point, and we don't even know if there is going to be another Xbox, it could just be cloud streaming or whatever, that doesn't particularly take away from the fact that anybody who's new to the Xbox system will still have an incredible time with this. Because at the end of the day, specs and everything else aside, it's all going to come down to the gaming experience. Likewise, I keep talking about the whole gaming experience, and a huge part of that, for me at least, is going to come down to something like Game Pass. Honestly, when talking about Game Pass, it still might be one of the best values in gaming in general, not just on console, even on the PC side. Game Pass is just absolutely magnificent. Between the huge library of games available to you, it's pretty much a Blockbuster, if anybody's sort of old like myself. But you used to go to Blockbuster, and if the game was not there, you're shit out of luck. Good luck until next time, I guess. Through Game Pass, at least, all the games are there. They're always in stock. You can literally boot them up. You can also stream them if you don't even want to download them. But between the day one releases and just the massive library, Game Pass is simply bonkers. For myself, literally right now, I'm playing Tony Hawk's 3 and 4, the new release, which was available day one. And as somebody who doesn't particularly have all the time in the world to grind a game start to finish, I personally find Game Pass to be a good value, mainly because I can bounce between games of whatever flavor of the week I'm into at that time without feeling the pressure to sort of buy a game and finish it if I don't like it. So yeah, while I'm definitely enjoying Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, it's going to take me 2 months to get through this thing. Likewise, I've been really enjoying Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Game looks incredible, and I've heard it's one of the best stories, potentially game of the year. So I'm stoked to sort of dive further into that. And then there's going to be the super popular Call of Duty, again, available day one this year, and I've been playing Black Ops 6, I think it is. And we got Black Ops 7 coming out, and I'm not even going to buy that because I know it's going to be on Game Pass. So I did want to talk about Game Pass just because it's an incredible feature to have on Xbox. Even if you're not using the Xbox Series X, the PC Game Pass, the Xbox Series S Game Pass, it's an amazing way to get your gaming in, honestly. Now, is the system perfect? No, absolutely not. There's going to be certain games you simply can't play on here. I'm a big WoW nerd. Throughout the year sometimes I might hop on for 2 or 3 months here or there, and that's just a game you can't play on here. And likewise, I'm sure there's going to be lots of other PC-only titles on here. However, week over week, month over month, the experience sort of gets a little bit closer and the gap closes between console and PC. Where you can sort of get the PC vibe though is when you throw this thing into a desk setup, which I'm probably going to get to in a bit. Now with that, I gotta say one thing about console gaming, and it's not just on my Series X, it's just console gaming in general, whether it's my Switch or my PlayStation, or yes, my Series X. It's taught me that I really don't need as much as I have to get a good gaming experience in. With that, I have been debating whether or not I want to toss this Series X back into my desk setup because I can, and it's portable, and that's one of the best things about it. So I'm going to toss this into my desk setup behind me and talk a little bit more about gaming. So let's get to it. Okay, so I've got everything set up here in my desk setup between my Series X, my monitor, and everything else. And I easily gotta say this desk setup is probably one of my favorite setups of all time, mainly because it simply just gives me everything I need. Now, as of late, I haven't really had a game console in my desk setup at all. I did have my Nintendo Switch 2 in this setup, briefly at least. But that's sort of one of the things I really just miss, is actually just gaming in my desk setup. Now, that isn't to say desk setup is going to be better than playing on a TV or whatever, because there is going to be pros and cons to both of them, which I'll actually sort of touch on a little bit on later on in this video. But for now, this setup is absolutely awesome, especially with the Xbox Series X. Now, one of my favorite things, which is obviously the Series X, separately from that, it's got to be the monitor I'm using. This is LG's 4K 32-inch OLED display, which is just simply bonkers. The reason I like this one a lot is because it pairs well with consoles, because it does have a built-in set of speakers, which in this case just keeps things more clean in my desk setup, and I don't have to put a separate set of speakers in here. And again, the image in the 4K 120 hertz on the Series X is simply incredible. Granted, this display goes up to 240 hertz, total overkill because I'm not using all of that. Needless to say, overall, I do love gaming on here. Now, talking about the Series X particular, just to sort of talk more about gaming, it is absolutely bonkers that this thing can push out 4K at 120 hertz. Again, I'm not going to go into the specifics between, upscaling and all that stuff because I really just don't care. And the image on here looks good either way coming out of the system. And sure, you can probably build out a super tiny gaming PC, but in all honesty, that's not really in my skill set. I used to build PCs. I probably can't now, which is why I'm all the more stoked that this tiny little package does what it does. But between all the gaming I've done on this thing over the years, it's always just been a simple turn it on, set and forget, excellent gaming experience. So I'm happy for that. I think for myself, at least right now, I find console gaming in general, so this isn't really specific to the Series X per se, but I find console gaming in general simply more relaxing, which is really everything I need, especially at the end of a long day. Absolutely love gaming. It's the best way for myself to sort of decompress, and I find consoles do it a little bit better. I'm less try-hard as I was. So when I play Marvel Rivals on a PC, I definitely get more tilted if I get dusted by some 12-year-old. But on console, for some reason, I'm just like, okay, cool, next. Anyhow, comparatively to PC, we're still getting variable refresh rate on here, which is why it pairs very well through monitors that support HDMI 2.1. Of course, it has the auto low latency mode. So again, those features that were once PC only are available on here, and some of the things I just really love about it. But yeah, for myself, being able to sort of escape the mouse and keyboard that I get to use for 10 hours a day, the controller is a good experience for me. Now, I will say the controller on this system is nothing special at all. I don't even think they changed it from the Xbox One series, but it does the job. There's no fancy features like the DualSense controller, which is still my favorite controller, mind you. I love DualSense. There's no fancy speaker, there's no built-in mic, but it does have replaceable batteries, which I know a lot of people prefer over rechargeable. So that's dependent on whoever prefers that. I don't hate it, I don't love it. It's simply a controller, and I'm okay with that. Now with that, I'm probably just gonna vibe out a little bit more this evening because it's almost past my bedtime, and I'm gonna wind down at the end of my long day. And tomorrow I'm gonna sort of touch on the media and the UI on this Xbox because it goes a long way. And I'm gonna toss it into my TV setup upstairs and just sort of talk more about that. So yeah, I'm gonna game a bit and call it a night. Okay. Now, yesterday I spent a good amount of time talking about the whole gaming aspect of this system. Naturally, I think I said it maybe 400 times, I realized, while editing this video up. But on the whole other side of the system, I sort of want to talk about the user interface, which I honestly think Microsoft did a pretty good job. At launch, I think it was a lot worse than it is now, but they've cleaned it up quite a lot, if I'm completely honest, and I kind of dig the whole tile setup. That, it only takes a couple clicks to get pretty much any setting you might want to go. If you're trying to pick a game, if you're trying to go to Game Pass, if you're trying to go to your settings, it takes like 2 or 3 clicks to get where you need to go. So I really appreciate that in terms of the user interface. Now, UI aside, the reason why I really enjoy this system particularly is because it has just a ton of native applications. So you got the Netflix, you got the Disney Plus, you got the Apple TV, the Prime, all those apps you would want, and they work incredibly smooth. So if it is, just a movie night or something, all the apps are there and they just really honestly just work perfectly well. If you're factoring the price of something like an Apple TV or Roku or whatever the hell, those can be, $180, $200. So again, when you're sort of factoring that into the $500 or $600 price point of this system, the value is actually pretty flippin' awesome. And for the most part, I just use the controller when it comes down to any sort of media, but there are like media controllers you can get and stuff to really sort of give this more of a entertainment system sort of vibe. And that's just another thing I really appreciate about this console in general. It's not just gonna be those streaming apps and stuff. I'm a huge music nerd and I listen to music every day, all day, even when I'm gaming. I love my Apple Music and Spotify, and sometimes here in the living room when we're just sort of vibing out with my family or if we have company, it's nice just throwing some music up on the TV on the Series X, and it's just one of those features I really appreciate. And naturally as well, I sort of touched on it yesterday, it's going to be something like the Discord integration. That didn't exist on launch with this system, but it's there now and it works perfectly when it comes down to gaming with the boys. Now that said, I don't think I've ever touched on it in the past when talking about this console in general, but the disk drive is something I never thought I would really fall in love with more recently than anything. I actually started taking my kids to the library every week or two, obviously for books. And it turns out the library is pretty much also Blockbusters now because they got games, they've got movies, they've got music that you can take out. So I've actually started enjoying heading over to the library on like a Friday or a Sunday or whatever else. And I just pick up a couple Blu-ray DVDs and watch movies. Now, in the world of streaming, again, as much as I love the streaming apps on here, it's easy to forget how good physical media is. And that's why I love used games. I love Blu-ray discs on here, because even a Blu-ray disc at 1080p somehow looks better than whatever 4K I'd be streaming through Netflix or whatever else. So if you haven't had a chance to hit up your local library, please give your local library a go, and honestly lean into those Blu-ray discs, because man, the quality is better than I thought it'd be. Just a bit of a pleasant surprise. Now that said, I think there is one thing that a console like this sort of really excels at, and that's going to be sort of the social aspect. Now, I understand PCs can be put onto living room TVs. They can be more compact. It's not the hardest thing in the world to set up, but it's also not as easy as a console in terms of plug and play. And when I'm just vibing out with my kids, or if I'm playing It Takes Two with my wife, It Takes Two is an incredible game. My wife and I have been playing it on and off for 4 years now, the way things go with having children. But it is just one of those things you can do with friends or family. And I find it's easier to have the whole social aspect of gaming or media and movies and stuff versus a desk setup. That isn't to say a desk setup isn't great, because again, I love desk setups. I find it a great spot to have your own comfort, your own solace, your own space to sort of vibe out. So there's definitely pros and cons. The best part is, again, because of the portability, you can sort of just swap it between either of those whenever you want, which is something I do quite frequently, actually. Now, to sort of round out this video, not ramble on too much, because this video is probably already pretty long. To summarize my whole sort of thought process with the Xbox Series X is I'm chasing the experience now. I'm no longer really chasing specs like I once did. It's not that I don't appreciate specs, because I more than definitely do. I'm incredibly fortunate to work with a lot of brands where I get to check out the latest and greatest top of the line pieces of technology, and none of that is lost on me. So the fact is, despite my exposure to high-end tech that is objectively better than the Series X, I still find it cool that this thing still impresses me. Between the Game Pass being as awesome as it is, something like Quick Resume, which I didn't really even talk about, but overall, the Series X is an incredible system. As much as, people love to complain about it, that Xbox is sort of, moving away from the console space. Look, we still have the Series X, and it's a dope-ass console. And if you want to vibe out on a console instead of a PC, that's nobody's business but your own. I don't think the mom or dad buying their kid their first game console is really going to care too much between this or a gaming PC, or the broke-ass college student who's on a budget. The Series X is going to get the damn job done. And as a tired millennial dad who just wants to game at the end of the night, I'm okay to not sort of chase specs and just to chase the actual gameplay that I want to get into. So yeah, this video sort of seems like a love letter to the Xbox Series X, but it simply offers me so much in my day-to-day that I can't help but be in love with it. And honestly, for me, I think I'm okay with that. But if you are thinking about the Xbox Series X, don't let other people sort of talk you out of a good time, because you will have a good time with this. But let me know what you guys think about the Series X. Maybe I'm out of my flipping mind, or it really is just that badass of a console. But let me know what you guys think down below. Appreciate you guys sticking out to the end. Until next time.